Safe to say we've all heard that JaNa and Kenny have broken up. In case you needed more proof, he's officially removed JaNa from his profile, on top of Leah and Serena unfollowing him. She's also limited comments on her page, and basically it's been scrubbed for all things Kenny. So looking at JaNa's chart, it's activated as fuck. We have JaNa going through her Saturn return, which Saturn and Neptune are currently retrograde. They station retrograde literally over the course of this July. So there's this idea of Neptune, illusions dissolving. It's a lot about deception. There's a lot about boundaries blurring, but there's also a lot about like an old vision dissolving to make room for a new one. And then when you have Saturn as well during her Saturn return, it's a moment where you mature. There's a lot about growing up and being the adult, and maybe, you know, it might not necessarily mean it translates to a wedding or a commitment, but maybe emotionally arriving at a point where I'm doing the right thing for myself. Also worth noting, we had a new moon in Leo, a new beginning, Sun and Pluto opposing on her natal Uranus. So Uranus brings about like sudden shocks, and this is important because there is also a lot of resonance with Saturn. Saturn rules Aquarius. So Sun and Pluto can invite this unearthing of information, confrontation with like our deepest fears, and almost like a big ego death. Because it's Pluto opposing, there is this idea of, I'm getting this from someone else. Someone is mirroring or reflecting, telling me things about myself that I didn't or was not aware of. Also, JaNa is going through her Mars return, and it's an extra spicy Mars return because Mars and the South Node peaked. They came together and peaked right around July 20th, 21st. It can represent some form of clearing house. So like wherever this is happening in your chart, there is a clearing house. There is a reorganization, if you will. Not only that, this Mars South Node conjunction is also squaring her natal Sagittarius Sun. So the Sun is the self, or the embodiment of self. When you think about Sag, there's a lot about truth, there's a lot about the future. And when you also think about Mars squaring it, Mars can represent a challenge. Virgo, there's a lot about discretion. There's a lot about like what's happening behind the scenes, but also Mars rules the blade. So again, severance. Admittedly, it's really worth noting that JaNa has a Venus and Pluto out of sign conjunction, which could add an extra layer of complication to her love life. But Venus doesn't really do well in Scorpio necessarily, so there can be the sense of maybe even betrayal, Venus and Pluto, trust issues in relationships. And it's also the idea that Neptune and Saturn are actually flowing into this Pluto-Venus out of sign conjunction. So dissolving the rebuilding around trust and betrayal in relationships.